Okay, we're back. We're moving on. We just last class we did the graphing of system of equation. So we are carrying on with the system of the equation, obviously. And this time or this week, we are going to do something a little bit more. It's not always about graphing. I know graphing is quite simple if you have decimals. However, not most of the time they expect you to be able to do something more than graphing. So let's say I have a system like this. 8x plus 2y is equal to 19, and then the other one, x is equal to 3. If you remember from the first video, I will actually say something like, make sure you name it. So this is your first equation, this is your second equation. I normally would do something like this, especially once you get into this so-called substitution method, and later on in the week we're going to do another method. So there are two ways to do this, and after this video hopefully you'll have at least some idea on how to do this. And obviously I'm going to show you more examples as the after this video, but I do want to give you a basic concept of what it means by substitution. So first of all, before we dive into this, if I have a system, if nobody force you to use whatever method, the quickest way possibly for me will be go into decimals and just draw this out. So let's say I'm just going back to like 7.1, whatever we learned. I'm going to plug this into my decimals. 8x plus 2y is equal to 19. And x is equal to, I think it's 3, isn't it? Yep. So let's say if they didn't force you to use whatever method, I possibly would just go for, let's change this color, because it's hard to see. Okay, so if they didn't force you to use like a substitution method, or eventually you'll learn something called the elimination, the easiest way for me would probably be drawing it out. So just like before, we actually did this in class and say, oh, okay, if they intersect this 3 and negative 2.5 is going to be the solution for this system, where the intercept is the solution. So the answer to this is 3 and negative 2.5. Alright, so even before we start this so-called substitution method, we actually know what's the answer already, right? So I want to teach you a new way to do this. It depends on the students. I do prefer calculations compared to just drawing the diagram. So substitution, as the name implies, you are going to substitute some of the variables or replace certain variables. But what I mean by that is, let's say I look at my variables, there are a couple of them out of these two equations. I have x, I have y, right? Basically, substitution means if you have two equations, and if somewhere over the on the first one they said x is this x is identically the same as that x. So 8 times x plus 2y is equal to 19. Basically, the second equation is telling you that, oh, this x you can replace or substitute with 3. So whatever I highlight over here, I can replace that. When I replace that, of course, I'm not going to replace that with another variable because it's the same thing. I'm going to replace it with this number. Alright, so the idea of substitution is somehow looking at that two equations, you want to be able to define something similar to this. X is equal to something or y is equal to something. So one of the equation, the more difficult one, you'll be able to replace it. So let's just show you what I would do. Let's just use blue instead. Because I know that the second equation actually said x is equal to 3. So I'm going to substitute x is equal to 3 into the first equation. I'll write this out. I'll sub x is equal to 3 in equation 1. Okay, you may not have to write all of this out in the long run, but in the beginning it's always nice, so you know what you're trying to do. So what I'm doing is x times x this time is going to be a 3, that is going to be a 8, it looks like something different, plus 2y is equal to 19. Okay, so I basically substitute or replace the x with 3, and then I'm going to calculate it. So the rest of this is just simple calculation. 3 times x, or x times 3, is 24, plus 2y is equal to 19. Remember that throughout this year, we've been spending lots of time solving equations. And so, if you're still having problems, fix it. Okay? Chapter 2, Chapter 3, all those things. So I'm moving this 24 to the other side. So I'm subtracting 24 both sides. That will disappear. 2y is equal to 19 minus 24. If you cannot do it over here. 19 minus 24 is a negative 5, not positive, so it's negative 5. Finally, to get rid of this 2, you divide by 2 both sides. So y, negative 5 divided by 2, I'll do it over here. Negative 5 divided by 2 is negative 2.5. So, according to this question, after I'm done with this question. After I'm done, I basically want to find what x and y is, right? Basically on the diagram, where the intercept is x and y. So my x and y, just look back. What's my x? X is equal to 3. X is equal to 3. So 3. My y is what? According to whatever I did, y is negative 2.5. Right? I can double check my answer. I can go back to the diagram and see, is that where the intercept? There you go. 3 negative 2.5. 3 negative 2.5. So substitution is another way that you are solving this pair of equations, and you should get the same result as like drawing. Excuse me. But of course, for you, in your mind, it's like, well, drawing that is much easier. Why are we doing this? Well, because if you're doing the final exam as an example, or any kind of exam, most of the time you may not have decimals with you. They may not provide you a calculator. They may actually ask you to use substitution. And so you do have to start doing something like this without the graphing calculator. And so that's the reason. Now, this example was very simple. And I tell you why. Because one of the equations, second one, they actually said x is equal to 3. It makes your life much easier. X is already equal to 3. It's a very simple substitution. You replace that, and you can find the y already. Because x basically was given in the beginning. You didn't do anything about the x. You find that out by default. So, normally, they will not give you something that simple. So, let me show you what I mean by that. Another question can be something like this. 15x minus 5y is equal to 30. And y is equal to 2x plus 3. So that is your system. As I said before, always just write down, this is my first equation, this is my second equation. Okay, so I know which one I'm referring to. So in this scenario, they didn't say y is equal to 5. That makes it much easier because you can simply substitute that y with a number and you'll get it done. But in this time, in this scenario, we have y is equal to this lot of things. Okay, so y is equal to this lot of things. This y is same as that y. Okay, so when we are doing the substitution for something like this, it's going to be a longer process. Because when we substitute the y in there, the first equation will turn into something a little bit longer. So, let me show you how to do it. Blue again. I was still going to write these little things, just so you can follow this. I'm going to substitute y is equal to 2x plus 3 in my equation 1. Okay? It's not always gonna be like that, so hopefully I'll be able to do another one after this that will be a little bit more complicated than this. So I'm gonna substitute y is equal to this into that equation. So I'm just gonna copy the equation 15x minus 5. Now, my y is a little bit different now. My y is no longer just y. My y is going to be this whole lot of things. So 5 times this 2x plus 3 is equal to 30. Okay? If you are not following or you're having problem, just pause this video at this very moment and make sure you understand what I did over there. Okay, I'm basically copying the first equation term by term until I get to the y. I replace that with the second equation. Is equal to 30. And when you look at it, you'll be like, oh my god, what do we have to do? Is basically everything we've done so far. 15x, nothing we can do just yet. Because if you remember, this part, negative 5 times 2x plus 3, you have a parenthesis over there. That means you have to distribute this. Remember that? Seeing a parenthesis, seeing a number in front of it, you have to distribute. Distribute is multiplying. So negative 5 times 2, you'll get negative 10x. Negative 5 times 3, you'll get negative 15. Okay? So all of this, everything we've done so far is all coming back to us. If there's a part of this you can't remember, it's going to haunt you for the rest of this month and subsequently next year and forever. So now I can combine line terms because 15x minus 10x, I should have 5x. 15, I cannot add or subtract with the x because they are different, so I'm going to leave that as is. So we are getting to that point. We are going to move this 15 to the other side. If you don't remember, the reason why we are moving the 15 instead of the 5x, I want to keep anything with the x on the left hand side. So this will disappear, so 5x is going to be 30 plus 15. Hopefully you can do it. And finally, divided by 5. So x is equal to 45 divided by 5 is 9. Alright. Now, just like the previous question, we are looking for xy, right? We are looking for xy. So now I know that my x is 9. How about my y? My y is still kind of odd. I don't have a number tied to it. I have this 2x plus 3. So subsequently, when I have to find y, I'll use a different color. Y is equal to 2 times, what's my x now? My x is going to be 9. I just find that out. plus 3. 2 times 9 is 18. Plus 3, that should be equal to 21. So my y is 21. So that's my final answer. So you can see that substitution is going to take a little bit longer compared to drawing it. Drawing it, you basically plug in decimals, it comes out, it looks nice. Alright. I can double check my answer because it's 921, right? So let's go to decimals and check if my answer is correct. I would say the graphing is a way to check your answer. As we move forward in this chapter, nobody really cares about the drawing because it's too simple. Plus 3. Okay, now this we have to zoom out quite a bit, I guess. Okay, find out where they meet. So zoom in after that and then click on it. Okay, so 921. Correct? 921. There you go. It's correct. So graphing is going to be the way to check your answer. Because this video is already quite long, I just want to give you the introduction. There are two ways to do it. One is extremely simple. They already give you or given you x is equal to something or y is equal to something. Then for the substitution over there is quite simple. Then alternatively, they may give you y is equal to another expression, so you have to do a little bit more. And basically right after this, possibly I'll go over a question where the things is not as obvious as this. This week we're going to cover the substitutions and the elimination method. And I personally think substitution method is the most difficult one. So we are doing this today. And I'm going to show you more examples in class. When we get to elimination, I think it's actually easier. However, it depends on the test. Sometimes they will just say, use substitution. They force you to use this particular method, and we can only hope for the best. So, as I said before, if one of these, like solving equations, is still having problems, do check out those videos. I think I started that series of videos, like solving equations somewhere. Just look them up. You can survive this year or the final exam without being able to solve equation 100% of the time. So that's the facts. Alright, I will carry on doing more difficult things in class, and possibly after that it's just going to be classwork or homework. It depends. So bye for now.